Now, when it comes to memorizing key quotations and word level analysis, I've decided to separate them according to main characters, because Lord of the Flies is a very wordy novel. There's a lot to remember in terms of quotations, and really the most efficient way to do so is by looking at the main characters in this novella. So we're going to start off with Ralph, who of course is the protagonist in this novel, okay? Now, the first quotation to bear in mind is how he is described in the opening chapter of the novel by Golding. He is described as the boy with fair hair. Now here, what this does is it establishes Ralph as almost a really angelic being, almost this perfect creature, okay? And the connotations around, firstly, the adjective fair is of this very innocent child, this child who is very innocent, very perfect, and very, in many ways, British too, okay? Now, the other word level analysis you want to do here is obviously the rhyming of fair and hair. And of course, what this does is it firmly establishes in our minds from the first chapter that Ralph is somehow different, somehow superior, okay? And of course, this is contrasted with how he later changes, even how he treats Piggy, okay? Now, the second quotation to bear in mind with Ralph's character is when he realizes, of course, he is elected as the leader on the island, and he realizes that, and this is his words, there aren't any grown-ups, we shall have to look after ourselves, okay? Now here, there's actually a sense of euphoria and a sense of excitement once Ralph and Jack, as well as Simon, they're the ones who go out to hunt, or rather on a search to kind of establish, you know, the boundaries of the island and so on, and then they realize actually the grown-ups who were flying the plane that was carrying them have all died, right? And so there's this sense of excitement, this sense of euphoria. They don't have any rules that they have to follow from the grown-ups. Now, the word level analysis you want to do here, firstly, is the assonance of a, aren't any after. Also the noun grown-ups, okay? And this is important because whilst at this point in the novel, it seems like something really positive, you know, there's no rules that they have to rail against. Actually, it later evolves into something very negative, very fearful. Uncivilization sets in, and ultimately Ralph even misses the stability of civilization as represented by grown-ups, okay? Now, the other quotation to remember when it comes to the character of Ralph is we learn that actually he has inborn leadership traits. And this is shown when it states, when the novel states, something deep in Ralph spoke for him. I'm chief, right? And this is what he says. Now here, what this emphasizes is how a natural born leader he is, in contrast to Jack, who can actually be very selfish, who wants to lead, but actually to be very self-serving. Now, the word level analysis you want to do here is firstly the noun something, which emphasizes this unique quality that Ralph has as a natural born leader. Also, in terms of word level analysis, you want to talk about the verb spoke, this idea that he has something within him, something in his id, okay? And of course, if you don't know what id is, please have a watch of the video relating to psychology and Sigmund Freud's iceberg theory and how this relates to Ralph's character. The final thing to bear in mind with analysis for this is declarative sentence. This is what Ralph says directly. I'm chief, okay? Declarative sentence, bear in mind, is a sentence that states a fact, feeling, or a mood. In this instance, he really asserts his authority, okay? Now, the other quotation to bear in mind with Ralph's character is now, in contrast to where he at first was really excited there aren't any grown-ups. Later on, he sees how all the children, these British civilized, supposedly civilized children, descend into savagery. And he states, I'm frightened of us. I want to go home. Okay, so this is a complete contrast now that everything has really fallen apart and society has fallen apart. The word level analysis you want to do here, firstly, are the two simple sentences, I'm frightened, full stop, of us. Okay, this shows Ralph's panic. He can't believe what kind of evil they're all capable of. They believed that they were very civilized, they weren't savages, but actually they're just as bad as the savages that they tend to be afraid of outside of Britain. The other word level analysis you want to do here is the pronoun us, this notion that he's afraid of the possibility of evil within all of these boys, which is interesting because actually he's then also realizing, much like Simon realized, that evil resides within the boys. It's not a beast out there, the evil resides within them. And this is what really fundamentally scares Ralph. The other thing you want to focus on in terms of word level analysis is the noun home, okay? Again, this abstract noun contrasts with this previous noun, which is to do with grown-ups. This world of grown-ups, he misses. He misses the order. He misses the rules which set the boundaries for what we can and cannot do. He wants to go home, back to this civilization. The final quotation relating to Ralph's character is, of course, the final quotation, and when he is ultimately rescued from what would have been his certain death, and he becomes a child again, and he weeps because he's lost his innocence, and now he understands the dark side that they all have within themselves. And the quotation is, Ralph wept for the end of innocence, the darkness of man's heart. Here, word level analysis, you want to focus on the verb wept. This shows his deep sadness at how evil and brutal they all are, and of course there's 2 casualties by this stage. Piggy has been killed, as has Simon been killed. Also, the word level analysis you want to focus on is the abstract noun innocence. This is, of course, relating to their innocence as children. This has been completely removed now that they were in this environment and there was no rule or order. And the final word level analysis is the metaphor, darkness of man's heart. And this metaphor is representing just how evil we all can be. And of course, this metaphor symbolizes the id, the evil side, the animalistic side that lives within us. And of course, if you're not sure what id means, please make sure you watch the video that I created specifically explaining Sigmund Freud's theory of the mind and the human psyche. Ralph in this quotation is shocked at the capacity that we all have, even children like him and Jack, for evil. Okay, so that's it when it comes to word level analysis to do with Ralph's character.